In chess, we know that opening is very important to study modern theory, very important to know the end games, and you must know the strategy of the game. But I think the most important in chess is to know tactics, tactical shots, preparations for combinations, sacrifices, because without them there is no game of chess. Every game you can see played on a decent, reasonable level has tactics. There is no game that has been played yet on reasonably high level that went without tactics. That's not necessarily the tactics that you see being played on the board, but it's a possibility of the tactics and avoiding them. You may not see combinations played on the board, but you may see one side or another played some move to avoid certain combinations, or played some move to set up a certain trap of the tactics or combinations, and the other side is avoiding them. So this is very, very important. And very frequently I was asked question, how do you learn tactics? There is no book that tells you that's the way you learn tactics. There is a book that says how to learn openings. There is a book to say how do you learn end games. But about the tactics, you should learn themes, motifs for the combinations, how to avoid them, how to set them up. And every combination, most of the combinations, I shouldn't say every combination, has themes for it, has reason why this combination or another work. Now, let's divide combinations on several different themes. And if you get a book on the combination, you see the combination on a pin, on a weak 7th horizontal, back rank mate, or double attack or deflection. There are lots of them. You have to learn them all, and most of the combinations have those themes. Now, if once you learn them all, intuition will tell you how to detect those combinations. What I mean by that is this. Here is one example we have on a board. You see that black's king has no move. So the white can by force checkmate black in 3 moves. You see, if white plays queen takes g7 and black plays rook takes g7, now I want you to see rook takes g7 would have been a mate if not the queen on b7, which can capture white rook. So the reason why this combination doesn't work is because the queen on b7 protects the g7, queen on b7 protects the g7 square. So what we have to do, we have to coordinate our efforts. So mate on g7, g7 is a 1 key square, and the other rook c8, that would have been a checkmate if not black's queen. So we notice that black's queen is overloaded. Now, this you have to have, once you see a lot of those combinations, you will be developing intuition. And intuition tells you right away, your eye immediately catches the g7 and c8 square. You play rook c8 check, do deflect black's queen from g7, from protecting g7 square. And now after playing queen takes g7, rook takes g7, rook takes g7, checkmate. Now this combination definitely has a logical solution. A logical solution is the rook c8 check. Now this is very logical. There are many, many different types of themes and motifs. White has certain theme here, an h7 pawn. Now, can white play rook c6? And now white, what they do is attacking their queen and attacking the checkmating square. That will be okay, that probably wins. And if black plays g6, maybe simply bishop takes g6. That wins. But there is a better solution for white. White can by force checkmate black in a few moves. Now, what difference does it make if we play rook c6 or queen takes h7? Rook c6 seems like wins on this pad, because after g6, bishop takes g6. And it does win. But let's say for a second that black's queen was somewhere in this position. And if we go rook b6 or something, then black gives check, and maybe black can protect. Best way for a combination when you make moves and every move, yours and your opponent's, is absolutely forced. The reason why it's important, because then you have no sub-variations. You have to calculate a lot more, and you know the more you have to calculate, the higher the chance of you making mistake, because you are a human and calculations can cause human mistakes. There is a force made by playing queen takes h7. Now, before we get to it, now here is the theme of the combination. We see the target. The target can be exploited several different ways. You have to find most efficient way. The most efficient way here is queen takes h7, because it's a more forceful, and never from here to the checkmating position, black never has an option. King takes h7, rook h6 double check. It's a simple calculation. King g8, no choice because it's double check with a rook and a bishop. And now bishop e6 check, and after king f8, rook h8 checkmate. This is the most efficient way. But of course, you cannot randomly find this combination. You have to see the X-ray attack of the bishop on f5 to h7 square. So queen takes h7 is the most efficient way to do it. So now this is also theme. This is a theme with variety of ways to play, plus little calculation. Now let me give you more complicated way. Now here comes mating net. You construct mating net. Well, first we want to stop king from running away. For instance, if we go knight d4 check, king is going to run away. White still is going to have very good position, but it's nowhere near as good as checkmating if we have this possibility. And rook takes d6 forces mate. Now, the theme, what is the theme? Why rook takes d6 is thematic move? After rook takes d6, bishop takes d6 is forced, and you see that white's queen controls 7th horizontal. Now black's king has no move. For instance, if we can make illegal move, if we could take knight from f5 and put it to g5, that would have been a checkmate, but knight doesn't go like this. But now we notice that black's king cannot make any moves. Now we play knight d4 check. Why is this check so important? For two different reasons. After queen takes d4, now we can push f5 pawn. Remember, knight was on f5, so we couldn't go f5. Knight d4, queen takes d4, f5 check. And after king e5, the only move, queen g3, is the checkmate. You see, black's king is smothered with its own pieces, with knight, queen, bishop. The theme of this combination, you have to notice that king is smothered. King, you should cut off the escape squares. That's the direction your brain has to work. Direction of cutting off escape squares and bring king forward or checkmate him right where it is. Rook takes d6 is a good way to start it. And this is a winning move by force. Now, white is a piece down, but white can, by force, checkmate black's king. Now, let's look at the possibilities. We see that black's king has no moves at all. Now, all we have to do, we have to get to that king, check him the way that he cannot capture our piece. Notice now, very interesting detail here. Suppose black did not have the g7 pawn. All I have to do is I have to get to black's king. This g7 pawn is critical. If black didn't have the g7 pawn, then white can play queen takes e6, pawn takes e6, and bishop h5 is a checkmate. Well, but we cannot take this pawn away. Pawn is there. Queen takes e6 is not going to work now because on bishop h5 is g6. So we have to find another way to get to black's king. And that's where we start search for a theme. We start search for what are the critical squares we can get into. They are all protected. Knight c7 would have been checkmate if not the rook on c8. Queen takes c6 would have been a checkmate if not bishop on b7 and rook on c8. Well, and you see rook d8 would have been a checkmate if not knight on c6 and rook on c8. In every case, black has some defense. They can capture our piece. What we have to do, we have to integrate those threats and find actual solution in getting to what we want. One piece that is on our way is the knight on c6. Notice that rook on c8 is overloaded. Rook on c8 protects black from knight c7 checkmate and rook d8 checkmate. But rook d8 checkmate he can capture with the rook or he can capture with the knight. And here comes solution. We first eliminate piece that is very important in defending the d8 square. Obviously, black cannot capture the queen with the rook because rook d8 will be checkmate. Okay, bishop has to take. Now you see that if black's rook stood somewhere on b file, knight c7 will be checkmate. If black's rook would have been on a8, same knight c7 is a checkmate. So rook has to stand on c8. So what is this rook protecting? This rook is protecting black from knight c7 checkmate. And also, if rook wasn't there, there would have been another checkmate, rook d8. And here comes the logical, this is strictly logic and a little bit of experience. We do knight c7 check first. We're forcing rook to move away from the 8th rank. Rook takes c7, and now rook d8 is a checkmate. Rook left the back rank. Well, you may say, why can't we do it the other way? That's where comes the simple calculation. If you do rook d8 check first, it's not going to do it because rook going to take on d8, and after knight c7 check, king d7, black can escape. So you used strict logic and little double checking. Then you see out of two moves, which one will get you where you want to get. And that's obviously knight c7 check, rook takes c7, and rook to d8 checkmate. That's not difficult at all. This is not difficult. And actually, all the play before that was that white conducted was aimed on this smothered and bad king's position, where all white's pieces jump on a black's position and they assault black's king and they checkmate black. So those are this is well prepared attack, logically concluded with a checkmate, cute but a relatively simple combination. It's a simple combination, and it's like it should be very easy for you once you are comfortable with these thematic exercises. Then you're going to get it in the game, and you're going to see it in 1-minute games maybe. That's how quick it will go. Or you're definitely going to see them in the tournament games. But then there are some different combinations that has very little, a lot less theme. Well, here is the position. White's king is weak, but so is black's king is under attack. Now we have to find a way, the pawn on c3. Black is threatening all kind of things, like a queen d2 check, queen e3 check. White's king is in a little jeopardy. Now, we can play queen takes c6, but what it's going to do for us? Do we have instant mate? We don't. However, here we have a theme that queen takes c6 opening the file. Well, let me tell you this, that statistically, most of the combinations and tactical themes you see, they don't work. Most of them, big majority of them, maybe 70%, maybe higher. Well, the combinations and themes and motifs, they are there. But you cannot, once you see the tactical theme, you cannot go there right away. That's like a guiding light for you that you have that, and now you see whether it's going to work or not. It's like when you go to store, you see some items, you like it, but you have to know what the price of it, whether it's worth buying or not. Here, you can, well, this is entirely tactics. All combinations, all tactics. Queen takes c6 is a forced checkmate. Pawn takes, but the good thing about this combination, it's a long, but it's very simple. Because notice that sometimes there are combinations that are long and very difficult to calculate. Some of them are short, but also very difficult to calculate. The reason why they are very difficult to calculate, because your opponent has variety of defenses, all different moves, different ways to go, and you have to be efficient in every one of them, and you have to make sure your combinations work. In this position, black, the easy part for white is black never has choice. Rook b8 check, king d7, and rook b7 check. Actually, they do have a choice here, but they are both very easy to calculate. Black has two moves, king c8 and king e8, and they are both very simple. On king e8, rook e7 check, king f8, knight takes c6 checkmate, or same thing happens on king c8, then rook c7 check, king b8, knight takes c6 check, king a8, and rook a7 checkmate. It's all forced. Your opponent never can deviate and improvise. So mate is strictly to the end forced. So those are relatively easy combinations, and themes are there. Here is another very simple version of thematic combination. Well, black's king is obviously under severe attack of white's pieces. Queen, knight, rook, possibly bishop. Now, how to find the final shot? If white plays knight h7 check, black has the only move king g8, because bishop is on the way between white's king and white's queen and black's king. But if white plays rook h8 check first, and black plays bishop takes h8, then knight h7 check will checkmate black's king, because king cannot go to g8. These are very simple combinations. And I'm not going to try to teach you now all these themes, because there are millions of books that you can take and you can see all different thematic combinations, and I'm not going to teach you how to see all the different themes. The purpose of my lecture here to show you how to notice those combinations. You go and solve more and more of them, and how to notice them. Once you know the themes, you will be finding them. Your eye will catch them, these combinations. There are some combinations that are not prepared. They have no theme, but they happen all the time. They actually, well, not all the time, very frequently. And sometimes it's very difficult to catch. Here, your eye, in this particular position, your eye catches that king has to be assaulted, black's king, and so many pieces attacking. What are you going to do in a position when pieces do not attack other pieces? Well, let me show you one example. Actually, I love that example. It comes right out of the opening. It seems like in a very quiet position where nothing indicates that there is a combination. Well, here is the example, d4, knight f6, c4, g6. There's a famous Grunfeld defense. cd, knight takes d5. Of course, we are not going to analyze now the opening part of it. I'm quickly going to go through the opening moves. Knight takes c3, b takes c, bishop g7, bishop to c4, c5, bishop e3, knight c6, knight e2. C takes d, queen a5 check, bishop d2, queen a3, castle. Castle is one move, but rook b1 is the move we want to analyze. Now this is very tricky move, very powerful move, not necessarily the good one, but very powerful, meaning has very good idea. The idea is very simple, to go d5, deflect black's knight, and then play bishop b4, trapping white's king. Nothing indicates any combination in this position from white, and a lot less that there is black can have any combination. Obviously black cannot take the pawn, because after knight takes d4 and bishop takes d4, white plays bishop b5 check, and black can resign in this position. Resign because on king f8 there's a bishop h6 check and queen takes d4, or if black plays bishop g7, then queen d8 checkmate, and if black goes king d8, then bishop b4, and black can resign. So black cannot take the pawn, and here white on the other hand is threatening to go d5, and when knight moves, bishop b4, trapping the queen. Black's answer, castle. It's very, very well hidden combination. White goes d5, black goes knight e5, and when white executes their main threat, which is bishop to b4, here comes shocking move. Black is not attacking white. Black cannot have possibly mating combination in this position. But look at this move. There is no preparation being done. Black never attacked white in this position. Black never indicated they have any threat. And after move queen f3, it's absolutely shocking and one of the most beautiful moves, I think, in the history of this game. It's very simple, but most of the beautiful moves are very simple. That's the beauty of it. Obviously, white cannot take the queen because knight takes f3, check, king f1, bishop h3, checkmate. You see how unexpected it may happen. Black was never attacking white. Black never crossed their half of the board, and all of a sudden there is a checkmate position. Well, now, why did we talk about it at all? So there are combinations that do not have any theme or any preparation. They are sudden combination, and you have to be aware of it. Now, how can you protect against shots like this? It's very, very hard to protect yourself, and there is no one given way to see this combination. But they are so rare. They are so rare and so sudden that only very, very sharp tactical eye can see them. But nevertheless, they do exist. They do happen, even in today's chess. Some most unexpected moves. Let me show you another example. Another example of the tactical shot. They happen all the time. Here is of the same nature, two tactical shots. Same nature, same theme. One of them, e4, g6, d4, bishop g7, knight c3, c6, knight f3, d5, h3, knight f6, e5, knight e4. Knight takes e4, d takes e, knight g5, and the best move in this position is c5, and white can play d takes c. Now, what should black do here? Well, black's best move is to play queen c7. Now, can they play queen a5 and queen takes c5? Probably not. Well, here is the tactical shot I was telling you about. Does nothing indicate that there is something serious white has. Queen a5, bishop d2, queen takes c5, bishop c3, protecting e5 pawn, and it does protect e5 pawn, because now white wants to play knight takes e4. And if black plays bishop takes e5, let me show you the unexpected tactical threat. Bishop takes e5, queen takes e5, and queen d8 check. Now this is not prepared tactical shot. White does not have any pieces that taking part in this combination. How about combination? This tactical shot has strictly positional nature. It's a tactic in order. Tactic serves the strategy. So they take, now knight takes f7, king c7, and knight takes e5. White did not win any material at all. However, they have big positional advantage because of the pawn structure. You can tell black's pawn structure is absolutely horrible, and white has big advantage. Let me show you the same tactical shot, but already performed by the other side. So now when this happens like few times, you cannot call it unexpected. If you saw it once, e4, e5, d4, ed, there is a central gambit called knight c6, queen e3, knight f6. Of course, I can never recommend you to play this way for white. Knight g4, queen e4, and obviously knight takes e5 is not good because of f4. So black plays d5 here, and after ed, they play bishop e6. They continue development. Now white has only one queen developed, and black has three pieces developed. And after d takes c, here comes the same combination, queen d1. You already recognize. Now, if you see the tactics once, this kind of tactic, it already actually should ring the bell. Or I have seen somewhere this type of combination. Queen d1 check, king takes d1, knight takes f2 check, and after king e1, knight takes e4. Obviously, black is going to win the c7 pawn, and they will have great position. That's, again, black has a strategical gain in this position. Then again, I'm going to show you one of the most interesting combinations I have ever seen. White's move. Black's king is a little bit uncomfortable, but white has no pieces to assault black's king, and black, it doesn't look like black is in any kind of danger. However, white is material down. White has only 2 pawns for a knight. That is not sufficient. Here come the combinations are both ways they work. If white plays queen takes c4, trying to get 3 pawns for the knight, then black is going to play queen takes f3, most probably winning the game, because after king takes f3, knight e5 check gives black totally winning position. So that's not a good alternative for white. And here comes absolutely shocking combination, and it looks like the black is not in danger. Here the move is h4, and it's very easy to see that g5 is a threat. It's a fork to win a queen, and if queen moves away, then g5 is going to checkmate you. Queen h7 checkmate. So g5 for black is not acceptable because white simply plays h takes g, queen takes g5, queen h8 check, king g8, queen e8 check, and next move queen takes d7, knight wins for white. So what can black do in this position? Black plays queen takes h4, and from here it's very difficult envision the end of this game. Queen h8 check, forced to king g5, queen d8 check. And now if king moves anywhere, white is going to take black's queen. And after knight f6, which seems like the only way to save the queen, then queen d2 is a checkmate. This is one of the most unusual checkmates I have seen. And I think what if somebody asked me, what is the theme of this combination? I would have had a hard time answering, because theme is here, you get black's pieces smother their own king, which is, it's not even smothered. Now if you look at it, in this position, queen d8, knight f, queen d2, black's king is not smothered, but these two pieces, these two squares, f6 square and h4 square, are taken by black's pieces, and those are the only two squares black's king could go to. And pawn on g6, you see, every square is occupied by white's pieces except for f6, g6, and h4. And on every one of those squares, there stand black's pieces. This is very interesting, an unusual combination. Those are the ones are very difficult to avoid. And see, if somebody performs this combination against you, it's good for him, and it's good for you if you can prevent it and see it. But don't be too upset, because those are unusual combinations, unprepared. They don't have clear theme and clear motif. And so those are the difficult to see combinations. Let me show you another one of those. Very, very difficult. There is no indication of black getting in any kind of trouble in the position I'm going to show you now in the opening. This is the very well known Caro-Kann defense, and at some point I was playing Caro-Kann defense, and I was very much in favor of one variation for black. Here is the variation I'm talking to. Knight takes e4, knight d7, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5. This is all theory. e6, queen e2, knight b6. This is all theory. We're not going to analyze this. Bishop d3, c5, d takes, bishop d3, actually h6, knight f3, c5, d takes c. And this position is very well known in theory. There are absolutely countless number of games being played. Bishop takes c5, and position is maybe a little better for white or not, but that's not what we're going to discuss now. The move I'm talking about is knight d7. This is the move I was developing and I was very much in favor of. After knight d7, obviously what you're trying to do, you try to take a pawn on c5 with a knight and develop bishop on e7, maybe later get the bishop on d3. After knight d7, white may go a5, b4. We go a5, white may do c3. White tries to maintain the extra pawn. Then black can go knight d5 and white goes bishop d2. And here, black may play a takes b. This is one possibility. Or black can, instead of a5, they can go knight d5 right away too. But let's look at a5. Now on c3, knight d5, bishop d2, and let's go b6. After a takes b, c takes b, and now b6. Now this is one way to play for for black, b6. And the other way to play for black is, instead of going a5 right away, well, after a5, c3, knight d5, bishop d2, black just does not get the pawn back. Only way they can try to get their pawn back by going b6 right away. And it looks like it makes a lot of sense. That's a terrible move and probably losing move. Now, if white goes c6, then bishop takes b4. Black is doing fine. And otherwise, black is going to take the pawn on c5. Now, knight d4 move does not indicate that black can have any disaster. Now, b takes c, and here you see that white does not really attack anything. Knight takes e6. I'm telling you right now, after pawn takes knight, white has absolutely nothing for sacrificed piece. However, the shocker is this move, knight c6, and black can resign. Black has two moves, queen c6 or queen b6, queen c7 or queen b6, which does not make any difference in this case. And here is the unexpected combination, queen takes e6 check. Now, this was not prepared. There is no pieces were coming to attack black's king, and all of a sudden, when all operations were in its center, there is a checkmate position out of nowhere. Now, if on bishop e7, queen takes e7 checkmate, and on f takes e, bishop to g6 checkmate. This is totally unexpected, out of the blue, out of nowhere. Very difficult to prevent, and only very sharp tactical eye can notice it. Those are the difficult combinations to perform and to prevent. So those are the type of now this combination became part of the opening traps. But imagine you playing in this kind of tactical shot you prepared in the middle of the game. It's going to be very, very difficult for your opponent to notice, unless you have some very experienced tactical player or genius, some kind of very strong player. Its chances it's going to work. Well, so you have to try as much as you can to control this kind of combinations and to execute them as well if you are on the right side of the combination.